Hare Krishna, let us start. Om Gyanatirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namavistam Sthapitam Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadavayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Guru Shri Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sarana Gurantam Mitham Tam Sajivam Sahaditam Sahadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Padam Sargana Milita Shri Vishakavatam हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु भैरव पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, welcome to this Bhagavad Gita as it is discussion. So, till our last class, we have been discussing majorly on four important points, uh, which is the Arjuna's doubts and surrender, and then Shankya Yoga, and then Karma Kanda, and then we discuss about the Bhakti Yoga or Nishkam Karma Yoga. So these are the four major areas which we discuss because these are the counters for Arjuna's questions or apprehensions in chapter 1. So, in here we will be looking at. So, in our previous class, we have discussed about the point that death is inevitable, soul is indestructible. Therefore, Arjuna has to fight. So, this is something which is concluded in the previous section, which is majorly focusing on Shankya philosophy of the of Shankya philosophy, where we understand what is body, what is soul, what is connection between body and soul, and so on. So that is what we discussed. Now we are entering into the next phase, which is karma kanda section. So here. Uh, Krishna will be discussing on so Krishna will be discussing majorly on the points which Arjuna has raised in chapter 1. So between shlokas 1.31 to 1.35, Arjuna is saying, Nacha Shreyanu Pashyami, Hatva Sajanam Ahave, Nakangshe Vijayam Krishna, Nacha Rajam Shukanicha. Then he says, Kim no Rajena Govinda, Kim Bhoge Jivitena. So at last he says, Api Trailokya Rajasya Hetu Kimnu Mahikate Nihatya Dadarachana Ka Priti Sajanana. So the point is that there is no use in emerging victorious because there is no enjoyment. So Krishna brings this section of Bhagavad Gita to point that if Arjuna performs his dharma, fighting a righteous war, there is enjoyment both in victory and defeat. He also elaborates the point. So there were three options available. One is victory, defeat, and then abandoning. Why to fight the war? So he also elaborates that point, which is the duty of fighting a righteous war instead of abandoning such a war. So this section is broadly called as Sakama Karma or Karma Kanda, which is performing prescribed duties with specific benefits. So that is the thing. So now with this introduction, let us go to the shloka 2.31. Swadharma api chavekshya navikampitum harasi. Dharmayatehi viddachreyam kshatriyasya na vidyate. The meaning is, translation is, considering your specific duty as the Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principle. And so there is no need for hesitation. So, what is Krishna doing here? Krishna is actually taking the discussion to a higher plane. So, okay, I have understood that I am not a body, I am soul. So how should I act in life? So this is the point. So life is a transitory, temporary illusion or transient activity or transient in nature. So having known that I am not this body, how should I act? We live in this material world. So when we live in this material world, we need to act according to this material body. So, and this action should be such that I get liberated from the material situation. So how should I do that? So that is what Krishna is now talking about. So it is application of the knowledge of the soul. So, how we will do this? We need to do whatever work we do. We need to do it carefully and systematically. And so it should help. So that means what? The work that I do should help me come out of the bodily conception. So the first stage there, or the first point that we need to address, is the first aspect here is the karma kanda. So it is a dharmic framework where we do work and do get some material enjoyment. So this results in material elevation. So Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He has to fight a righteous war and attain victory. So this, if he does that, and if he kills his relative, and while fighting a righteous war, he will still be able to get a prosperous kingdom. So Krishna is now telling him that do not hesitate to do your duty because you are going to kill your relatives, because you need to do your specific duty as a Kshatriya. This specific duty as a Kshatriya will help you in overcoming all the you know, no, will help you in deciding few things without hesitation. So now vikumpitam. Now vikumpitam means now vikumpitam fallacy. To hesitate, do not hesitate. So this is very, very important. So hesitation is an internal weakness which is coming out in case of Arjuna. So he is telling in Shloka 1.29, Pepatastu sharirame romarsha sajayate gandivam sharasati asta tak chaiva paridate. There is a trembling and quivering in the body, and he is unable to hold the gandiva. But this will be easily overcome if he say knows that the fighting is swadharma. It is his specific duty, and he should do priority. Give priority to that rather than hesitating. So this understanding will help him to overcome the hesitation and and the long term benefit. So here swadharma api chaviksha shreyo, not just shreyo anupashyami. He is telling there is a long-term benefit in the chapter 1. So to emphasize the same point, the long-term benefit for Kshatriya is to fight a righteous war. So there is no better engagement for Kshatriya than this engagement in a righteous war. In 2.1 also, there is one point raised by Arjuna, which is Karpanya dosha upotsav uchami dharma sammodacheta yet shreya. What is best for me? So Krishna is answering here, follow your swadharma without any hesitation so that you will be able to get the no the long-term benefit. So you may ask, there could be a question. Shreya is actually going back home, back to Godhead. Why Krishna is telling something different, asking him to do fight a war, right? Is war. So Krishna is going to explain the Shreya in multiple levels. So this is the beginning. In our current life, there are two sets of duty. One is a material duty, and another one is a spiritual duty. So this Swadharma is referring to material duty. Having born in this material world, we need to do some duty which is pertaining to the body. And this is governed by Varnashrama principles. So we as duty to be good teachers, parents, family members, disciples, good citizens of a society. This is very important because without this, practice of sadhana bhakti becomes very difficult. So there is basic swadharma, which is material duty, and then there is a spiritual duty, which is sadhana bhakti. This is the process by which we realize our constitutional position. So what is that sadhana bhakti? Sadhana bhakti is that chanting 16 rounds, following four regulative principles, getting up early in the morning, and then engage, do mangalarti, offer food to the Lord, and then take the prasadam. So these two duties are to be done in a harmonious way. So here Krishna is specifically talking to Arjuna at the level of material duty. And for Kshatriya, it is to fight the righteous war. So that is his material duty. So there in the purport, there is a clear example. So here, killing of an animals in sacrificial fire and killing of people in the battlefield are comparable. So Prabhupada also is giving about the two swadharmas, which need to be understood. Okay, so now in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 16, there is a dialogue between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Chalkasi. So in Vedic scriptures, there is emphasis on ahimsa. So when we simultaneously, so what is this? When we have ahimsa, why there is animal killing in the yagna or sacrifices? So in yagnas, there is a ritual for animal sacrifice. Animal will be killed in various ways. By simply chanting mantras, animal can be killed. Sometimes by cutting throat or by using physical weapons, the animal can be killed. Whichever way the animal is killed in this yagna, they will be elevated to bodies in the next life. So they give up the life, the animals give up their life for higher purpose, hence they get elevation in the consciousness. So the focus there is to ensure the correctness of the yagna. At the same time, the animal gets the soul gets elevation in Krishna consciousness. So from Manusmriti, then onwards, there is a clear inclination to avoid animal sacrifices entirely. So acharyas like Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, when they talk about sacrifices, they say that animal sacrifices are given by those who are habituated to meat eating. However, those who do not want animal sacrifices, there are replicas of animals available. Example, Durga or Kali worship is a typical worship where animal killing is there, especially the goat sacrifice. Kali is the Ugra expansion of Durga in Tamasic world. Durga, if you see, she is Vaishnava. She does not like blood. So, in place of animal sacrifice, uh, Brahmanas they cook urad dal or they offer red color flowers in worship of Durga. So, acharyas like Madhvacharya or Ramanujacharya they do not reject what is given in the Vedas, but they contextualize them. When they give the right context, then we understand that it is the other simpler versions or sattvic versions available which we should adapt. So in 2.45, Krishna is telling that Traigunya Vishaya Veda, this Traigunya Govarjuna, Nirdvanda Nitya Sattvastva Nir Yoga Shemya Atmava. Here, he does not reject Vedas, but asks Arjuna to go beyond the transcendental, go beyond the three modes to the transcendental. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The three gunas are spoken in Veda. Nistraigunya Bhavajana. So, go beyond the three modes. That is what he is not asking to sacrifice the Veda give up Vedas, but to go beyond the three modes. Similarly, there are statements in Vedas which seem to be controversial. So acharyas give context, and in that context, we should understand. So for the people who are habituated to meat eating, animal sacrifices are recommended. But those who have risen to a higher level of consciousness, there is no need of animal sacrifice. That is why it is not talked much about by acharyas in their commentaries. The point is that whoever does a prescribed duty, he gets elevated. Kshatriya, when he fights a righteous war, he gets elevated. But those who do not, but this does not mean that we fight war. So it should be a righteous war. And so here, there is no provocation where a Kshatriya goes around and starts fighting with all the kings. That is not the point. The point is that when there is a situation to fight a righteous war, Kshatriya has to face it and fight the war. We see the Pandavas tried everything to avoid the war. They used Krishna as the Doot, Shanti Doot, and they reduced their requirements from the entire kingdom of Hastinapur, half of the kingdom of Hastinapur, to five five villages. But the enemy, that is Duryodhana side, was not ready to give even a small piece of land. So this is prescription for a righteous war where there is every step taken to avoid indiscriminate violence. So that is the most important thing we need to understand. So violence is not the way we settle conflicts. Violence is the last option. So these type of statements in Vedas are given so that Kshatriyas do not infringe. When they are given a fighting opportunity, they should fight. They cannot avoid fighting war. That is why these type of statements are given in Vedas. It is to inspire Kshatriyas to fight the righteous war. Okay, so if you see the last sentence here, discharging one specific duty in any field of action in accordance with the orders of higher authorities serves to elevate one to higher status of life. So this is very, very important for us. If in doubt, we should ask higher authorities. So that is the point. So I'll go to the sloka number 2.32. Yuddhachreya Chopapannam Swargadaram Apavatam Sukhina Kshatriya Partha Labante Yuddham Idrisham. So, O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought. I'm just sharing my scenes. Correct. Um, just a moment. So, O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets. So, Kshatriyas attain heavenly planets by following a life of Dharma and then gradual detachment and then eventually. So, they follow a life of Dharma, they gradually get a detachment and then eventually attain heaven. On the other hand, if they get an opportunity to fight a war, they die and they get elevated to heavenly kingdom. This is because when there is a righteous war fought, the doors of heaven are open. So when so here we see that Krishna is actually glorifying Swarga, whereas devotees like Prabodhananda Saraswati, he actually rejects mukti. So actually Kaivalyam Nalakayate Tridasha Pura Akasha Pushpayate. So according to this, Goloka, Vaikuntha Loka is the aspiration. So why now Krishna is glorifying Swarga. This is because Krishna is elevating knowledge in a gradual way. We need to understand that this Bhagavad Gita is spoken to Arjuna under the context that in the later date, people with different levels of consciousness will be using it or reading it and trying to understand. So the knowledge is given in a very gradual way. So Krishna is not talking about liberation. Krishna is just talking about Swarga, which is a material enjoyment. So this is in response to Arjuna's argument. How can I enjoy if all the relatives with whom he would like to enjoy, rejoice the fruits of success are killed? So he is now, Krishna is just answering to the point. So if enjoyment is what Arjuna wants, then he is not, Krishna is not changing the definition of enjoyment, but he is giving a better level of material enjoyment, which is in Swarga, which is much better than Earth. So we need to understand that Mahabharata largely focuses on Karma Kanda, which means Dharma, Artha, and Kama. Moksha and Bhakti are also taught, but Moksha and Bhakti can be only seen through the vision of Acharyas. If somebody reads Mahabharata on his own, he may probably miss Bhakti and Bhakti and Bhakti and Moksha. So in Parashara Smriti, it is given that Kshatriyohi Praja Raksha Shastra Prani Pradandayan Nirjitya Parashainyadi Shitim Dharmena Phalayate. So Krishna is telling that by doing this or by fighting the righteous war, it is you will be enjoying more. So if you see the last word here, considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom. If he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to heavenly planets, whose doors are were wide open. Fighting would be his best benefit in either cases. And Kshatriya's duty is to protect citizen. So he has to fight. So Prabhupada is relating the Parashara Smriti with what is expected out of Arjuna in a very simple way. Then text number 2.33 Atha chetatvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tata swadharma kirtim cha hitva papam avapyasi. So, if however you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as fighter. So, not doing dharma is like dereliction of duty, and this will result in loss of faith. Tata swadharma kirti reputation. So it will, and further, if we do not do it, we will also incur sin. So there is reputation as well as loss of reputation as well as sin incurred. So if a doctor does not do his duty of treating the patient, then it is negligence. So in this case, negligence is a crime. So if Kshatriya is not protecting the weak citizen, he will incur sin. So Krishna is now, in the previous verses, he has given the positive aspect of doing the duty, which is heavenly kingdom, heavenly planets, or unrivaled kingdom. And now he is going to talk about the negative impacts, which is infamy, infamy, then sinful reactions, how people will be talking low about him, and so on. So Krishna is not talking at the level of Amani Manadena. So like in Chaitanya, in Shikshastakam, we have Amani Manadena, where the devotee gives up everything related with false ego. But here, Krishna is talking of the level of Kshatriya, who has to do the swadharma, which is very specific related to his bodily duties. So yeah. So I'll go to the next shloka. Akirtin chapi bhutani kateshyanti te avyaya sambhavitasya chakrati maranat atirichyate. People will speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So Krishna is now talking about infamy. Maranat akirtim, in fact, it is worse than that. Maranat atirichyate. So akirti is repeating in this verse also. You can see akirti chaka. No, in the previous verse also akirti was there. In this also it is there. So people will talk about this for a long time to come. In this material world, infamy stays longer than for a long time because people like to gossip. Here, Krishna is trying to portray the common thing in the material world. In general, the consciousness of people is very low. This means that they like news about scandals and gossips. This ignoble act of Arjuna of not fighting the righteous war will result in people speaking about it, and Arjuna will become infamous. Devotees are not concerned about personal reputation, but they are concerned about the message of Krishna. So, how does this shloka relate to a devotee? Devotee has one important role, which is preaching role. So, if a preacher gets a bad reputation, or if preacher's character is flawed, then preacher's capacity to preach the message is impeded. When can a preacher share a message which involves spiritual wisdom and personal transformation? Only when others trust that person. If there is a flaw in the character or personal reputation, that trust erodes away. So, from our point, we should avoid gossip. However, it is human nature that people will gossip. This is not a recommended nature. It's a lower nature, but it is no, it is the symptom of material world. It is nature to become lusty or greedy. The same way, it is conditioned nature to become gossipy. This has to be avoided by devotees. Devotees should not gossip. At the same time, they should not become the subject of gossip. So Krishna here is telling to Arjuna that the way how people will talk about Arjuna. Krishna is telling that for a honorable person, dishonor is worse than death. It is common saying that sticks can break bone, but words can crush the hearts. So when somebody speaks very harsh words, it will go much deeper in heart than the physical wounds, and it will be remembered for very long time. So people commit suicide, or people undergo mental stress, or people undergo mental trauma, not because of physical pain, but because of emotional pain. So if a person whom you love speaks harsh words, it can be enormously painful. These harsh words is not directly told to the person. So, but going all around. So what happens is sometimes the harsh words is not directly told. It is spoken by someone, and then it spreads, and then by the time it reaches the concerned person, the fame or the reputation of the person is completely demolished, and the news generally about wrong bad reputation spreads much faster. So it is important that we do not become part of this type of gossiping. At the same time, because these type of gossiping may be worse than death. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that this is what will happen to him, and therefore whatever Arjuna has done in the past, being a good devotee, the way he fought wars, the way he got fought war with at Virat, fought war with Lord Shiva, the way he visited heavenly kingdoms, all that will fall to nothing if people start gossiping about him, about his power. So, Arjuna may say that it is all he's doing all this uh, so that he virtue is there and righteousness is there. But Krishna is answering this in the next verse. So if you see the next verse, I'm just sharing my screen once again. Bhayagrana Upanantam Amashente Tvam Maharatah Esham Cham Tvam Bahmato Udva Yashasvi Dharma. So if Arjuna's argument is that no, it is virtuous not to kill, to take the path of non-violence. If that is there, then the answer to this is the great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you as insignificant person. So they will not understand the virtue and righteousness. So what does that mean? Krishna is telling to Arjuna, don't chicken out from the battlefield because of fear. The great warrior will tell you uh, that you are not great, but just an ordinary or an insignificant person. So great generals will be talking about as an insignificant person. So there are here once again we need to understand a deeper insight. We should look at the deeper insight here. Our actions are seen by people. So there are actions and motivations. Our motivations are never seen by people. People's perceptions are not shaped by our motivations, but by our actions. So there are three things: perceptions, motivation, action. Perception which a third person makes is based on our action. Only our close people or people who get closer to us can see our actions and our motivation. Otherwise, people will primarily see our actions, and based on their level of consciousness, they would ascribe a specific motivation. So, our motivations, it is very difficult to be known to the world. Our actions only will be seen in the world. So, based on our actions, people may our actions may lead to wrong perceptions. So we need to ensure that our actions are always exemplary. So if we occupy higher authoritative position, if we are a senior devotee, then it becomes important that our actions are very, very exemplary. If we are acting in a specific way, which can be wrongly perceived, then we should clear the air and explain our actions and motivations behind it. This will clear all wrong perception. So it is important that senior devotees or sannyasis they follow Prabhupada's instructions to the heart because anything that they follow can be misinterpreted. So it is very important as we grow, as our realizations become mature. It is more important that we chant 16 rounds in front of everyone in a public, uh, and we read books. We show our sadhana, and people should take those actions exemplary, and we should not leave any uh, wrong signals. So this is very, very important. Getting up early in the morning, Yeah, at whatever stage we are, we should follow that. Attending Mangalarti, whatever stage we are, we should be there. If we are in a leadership level, we should ensure that our actions are very, very exemplary. If we are not able to attend Mangalarti due to a reason, we should make it public why we were not able to attend Mangalarti because of illness, because of travel, or whatever is the reason. But it needs to be, made clear. So this is very, very important. So Krishna here is telling Arjuna, if you leave a battlefield, the perception is that you are a coward and insignificant person. So in management science or whatever you call behavioral science, there is something called as attributional error. Attributional error is or attributional means something we ascribe as a cause to an action. If we see a person eating more, we think that he is glutton. If we see someone sleeping for a long time, we call that person lazy. We see an action and ascribe an attribute to it, and hence we make an attributional error. However, when we do the same thing, we give benefit of doubt. If we eat more, we are hungry as we start the previous day. If we sleep more, then it is because of tiredness or overstraining due to previous day work. So this is human tendency. So we need to avoid this attributional error. We should not ascribe motivation to action without understanding the circumstances. So this will help in overcoming many misunderstandings. As devotees, we should be careful and avoid misunderstanding. So people in general will practice gossiping and so on. Therefore, we should be careful with our actions in public. This should be inspirational and encourage practice of devotional life. So our action should inspire and encourage practice of devotional life. This is very, very important. There is a shloka in Chaitanya Charitamrita where it is told, Shuklavastre masi bintu yaiche na lukaya. Sanyasir alpachitra sarva loke kaya. A dark spot on white cloth is very clear. So, as soon as the general public finds a little fault in the behavior of sannyasi, they will advertise it as a wildfire. It is just like a black spot of ink on a white cloth, which can never be hidden. It will always be prominent. This means that a person in a higher position or leadership position, he should act in a very exemplary way. There should be no scope for any attributional error from public. And the same way, the alternate, we should also see the other way. We should not associate the motivation based on action. Rather, we should understand the circumstances and give benefit of doubt to the person who is the subject there. So this is very, very important for us to understand. Now let us go to 2.36. Avache vadamscha bahu vadishyanti tavahitah nindastastava samartyam tato dukantaram mukim. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? So they are giving attributional error. This is a pure attributional error. Yeah, I'll go to 2.37. Atva prapshyasi swargam jitva va bhokshese manim tato tasmaduddishta kauntaya yuddhaya krita nischaya. So, O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. So, so what is here? Whatever Arjuna has thought as a loss-loss situation, it's actually a win-win situation. So if he dies, Atva Prakshasi Swarga, so he goes to heaven. Jitva Bhokshese Mai, he will enjoy the kingdom. world. Tasmat uttishta kaunteya. So get up and fight. So if you die, you get heaven, and if you win, you get a prosperous kingdom. So this way, Krishna is clearing all possibilities for Arjuna to fight. That is why he saying Tasmat uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nischaya. With determination, fight. So this is the second level of argument to fight. This is called as karma kanda. The first level is we are not body, we are soul. So death is inevitable, soul is indestructible, indestructible. Therefore, we should fight. Therefore, Arjuna has to fight. Then, second level of argument is that the win-win situation is to fight. So he has to follow his dharma of fighting and enjoy the kingdom if he wins, or he will go to heaven because he participated in the righteous war. But abandoning will result only in infamy, and it is worse than death. So, so this is consolidates. No, this is these. Uh, this concludes the section on karma kanda, which is application of Atma Jnana. By doing your prescribed duties, you will enjoy. Yeah. So next week we will look into the shloka from 38 to 53, which is on Nishkama Karma Yoga. So I'll stop here. Any questions? We can now discuss questions. Any questions from anyone?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. There's one thing I wanted to inquire about, as you were touching upon the point of people having trauma, and I suppose it's quite safe to say that, practically speaking, everyone is having some trauma within the heart. And then you were speaking about harsh use of words, and especially in the case of a preacher. So I was just wondering, would there be some formula, some way that how to see that we are approaching people properly, not to speak in too harsh language, but rather to, because I have this impression that if we want to attract people, attract mundaners, we should take it in a rather soft way, and not go and beat them with a guitar on the head or something like that. But the attraction has to be established on quite soft grounds, as I have an impression. But then there is a danger that things become all soft, and how to avoid this danger of becoming over interested in these kind of affairs. And on the other side, that one can take notice that rectification comes through harsh language usually, rather than all these soft sweet talks. So how to balance if the situation
Yeah.
or question is clear.
Yeah. So when we do preaching, there are uh, so there are different ways: kripa, maitri, daya, upeksha. So Madhyamadikari has to show mercy. He should preach. So he should see that the preaching happens to the people who are interested, and this comes from the mercy. Then he should show respect to the seniors. Kripa, Maitri, Daya, Upeksha. So, Upeksha is something which you would avoid. If somebody is very envious, it is better to avoid envious people because anyway, by speaking, their envy will only increase. Therefore, it is important that um, we avoid them and focus on the people who are really interested in understanding the Krishna consciousness. So there is something called as in our previous shloka we saw Ascharyavat Paschit Kaschitena Ascharyavat Vadati Tataiva Chanya Ascharyavat Anya Shanyota Ascharyavat Chena Anya Shunyoti Shrutuvapi Yena Vedana Chaiva Kashyat. Some people see soul very surprised. Some some people talk about soul in a surprised way. Some people get understanding of the soul. Some people, even after hearing about it, they are beyond correction, because for them the material impact is material conception is so deep. So, some people it is very difficult. For them, it is better to give them prasad and harina. So that is the best treatment for them. But the specific point I talked about here is uh, devotees. What will happen to devotees within devotee community? We are all still human beings, still material world. Therefore, the dealings with the devotees become sometimes very complex. So, in these situations, it is very important that we do not use harsh words. So, it should be handled very, very carefully. It should not be like in the situation of devotees, no devotee should leave Krishna consciousness because we have used harsh words. So that is the point I was trying to make. And no, that is the point in this seven slokas. The infamy, we should not be cause of a infamy of a devotee. That is what I was talking about. But when we are preaching to hard nuts, Buddhist or impersonalist or atheist, we should be very strong and take them on point by point and smash their arguments. That is very very clear. That is one area. But the topic I spoke today is dealing with the devotees. Dealing with the devotees should be done handled very very carefully. We need to understand, and only a person who knows the devotee very well should handle or correct the devotee. It is because we don't know. So when will a devotee trust? So we need to get into the trust of the devotee. Then only he will listen to us. So a trustworthy partner or a trustworthy Siksha Guru should give instructions to a devotee who is little bit off or spaced out, timed out. So there we should not use harsh words. We should not be no instrument for gossiping, for infamy of the devotee. So this is what I was. No, that is what is put in this 31 to 37 shlokas.
Oh, yes, very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji. There's plenty of insight in what you said, but still a question remains that um, as you now brought up the point of trust, but wouldn't that also be the case or something to be established if we are preaching to, well, say to an atheist, that the trust should be established there also? Because or would you say that we can somehow make a breakthrough, or even bring the atheist into devotional life just by crushing some arguments that he is making?
Yeah. So atheist is in a wrong area. Sometimes there we need to use strong words. Chindanti, we should use sword of knowledge. Uh, so we need to use sword. They should be very strong. You are like Prabhupada has adapted many places. We need to go straight to the point and argue with them. There is no use in discussing. Nothing will conclude. We will not conclude anything. So it is better to give them strong arguments, say that your points are all bogus, there is no basis for your arguments. Hare Krishna. That's all. That should be told to them. That's all. If you happen to meet people who are into peace conferences taking chicken soup, you should tell that you are complete hypocrites, because you have killed chicken and drinking chicken soup, but where is the question of any peace conference? So you should be point blank on that. Otherwise, they will never get corrected. But when we are dealing with a devotee, if a devotee is not able to come to Mangalarti, we cannot be harsh. We need to understand what is the situation. And it should be, in such situations, we should look at Matra Sparshas to Konte, Sitoshna Sukha Dukkada, Agama Payana Anitis, Tam Sthiti Kshashva Varta. These are sensory perceptions. They will come and go in our life. We should remain focused on our sadhana. Where are we doing mistakes? Are we attending Mangalarti? So if we are judgmental about ourselves, that is very, very nice. Rather than being judgmental on others, we should leave it to the authorities to handle. Whereas we should be very clear in our actions. We should judge ourselves where we are deviating. So, summarizing, when we handle atheists, Buddhists, Mayavadis, just be point blank with them. No need of mincing words. Just be point blank. With respect to others, devotees, we should never be judgmental. We should come out of that mindset. We should focus on our sadhana.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Any other question? Actually, I listed down some questions. Um, I have to write down in this presentation so that we can discuss this in next class. It took some time for me to prepare for this class. So I think next sessions I will have the list of questions with me typed here so we can go through those questions. It would be interesting. Any questions from anybody else? Okay, if there are no questions, then we stop here. Thank you very much for joining this discussion. Achakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvayyacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. ग्रंथराज भगवदगीता की जय, जगत गुरु
Jai.
श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय।
Jai.
हरे कृष्णा। हरे
Hare Krishna.
कृष्ण। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna, Dharma Prabhu.
हरे
Prabhu.
कृष्णा।
Thank you,
धर्म
Prabhu.
प्राप्त करो। थैंक यू।
Hare Krishna
थैंक
Prabhu.
यू। हरे
Hare
कृष्णा माता जी।
Krishna.
धन्यवाद माता जी।
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा।